Finally, a sword fighting video. I've been sword fighting like a year now, and it's really technical. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but I'll give you the basics in this video because it's really interesting, and it's a martial art that really isn't very well known. So first off, you've never seen real sword fighting ever in any video, in any movie, in any show. Like really, it's weird. It's almost like if you've seen those 80s action movies where Arnold is just like, or even Sylvester Stallone, they're just like hip firing every gun they have. They're just like, and they're killing everyone. That's not realistic gunplay. It's almost as if that's what sword fighting has been, which is fair because it was a lost art. Everyone that knew sword fighting died in World War I because of guns, and the art just disappeared. And if not for the sword training manuals that these master swordsmen wrote back in the 1600s, 1500s, 1400s, it would literally be a lost art. But now it's back, and it's through trial and error, people reading the manuals, they figured it out, and it's pretty good now. So I'm just gonna go through the basics. It's so technical that there will have to be a few videos of this. But the basics, we'll start with the grip. Now this is an actual sharp sword, so I hope I don't cut myself in this video. So generally when we see sword fighting in movies or shows, people grip it like this, which is possible, it's doable, but it's not optimal because the sword actually moves around in your hand a lot, as in like the grip rotates often. So what you want to do is actually called the handshake grip. You hold it like this as if you're shaking someone's hand, because then you can easily transition into different grips rather than like being stuck here. This is called the hammer grip. There's also another grip where you loop your finger over like this, which is a little risky, and they started actually building guards that go around this finger because you get better sword control here. But you can also, well, I mean, you're supposed to wear gloves, but you can also cut yourself. And if a sword comes in and comes down on your finger with these types of guards, it's not gonna be fun. All right, so we have the grip established. Let's talk about footwork first. Any basic fencing stance, you're gonna make an L with your feet. So if you're like this, and you bring your feet together, you have an L here. Also with posture, which I found really interesting because it's just like bodybuilding. Everything you do is your chest up. So every stance, every strike, your chest is always up. It's not like a boxing stance where you're like this. Your chest is a heroic pose you have to imagine all of the time, which is just like bodybuilding. If you're deadlifting, you know, your chest is out. If you're curling, your chest is out. If you're squatting, you're always in a heroic pose. The hardest part about this is learning how to swing this. That's the hardest part. It took me like 3 months to really get it, because we often think that you just swing the sword around like a baseball bat. You just kind of use your arms to throw it, and you don't. You actually use it more like a whip. You're kind of flinging it over like that rather than trying to just swing through. Reason being, you get more power flinging it than you do doing this, and it's harder to see. You get a faster strike flinging it like that rather than trying to swing like a bat. Also, you don't really control the sword, it more so controls you. What I mean by that is it's almost like you're throwing the sword away from you, but your body just follows it. So I'll have to really exaggerate my moves to show you. So if we're striking correctly, I'm here in my stance in this guard. It's a high guard, and I'm throwing the sword in front of me and letting my body follow. So I'm, in the exaggerated version is this, throwing it out and then going with it. So I'll show you that again. So I'm throwing it out and going with it. Right? So the correct way, rather than like taking it, letting it take you, so you're flinging it and you're moving with it. So then the correct strike would be like this, right? I'll show you that again. Obviously you could cut through here, come back up, and that's true for whatever side you throw the strike on. And also with your footwork, so if I'm throwing a right hand strike, my right foot goes forward. If I'm throwing a left hand strike, my left foot goes forward. There are, I mean, that's the most optimal positioning, but you can do, say like if I do a left hand strike, you can do offside strikes. It's a little weird, and it's more so with context in whatever fight you're in. Talk about guards. So you have your high guard here on this side, this one up here, and you have your lower guards here and here, and then you have your tail guards, which look like this, or on the left side here. This one's weird because this hand is like barely on the sword. And generally, if we're using the camera as the enemy combatant, the point is always facing the camera. No matter what guard I'm in, the point is always here. Unless it's a low guard, but even then it's in line with you. You're probably sitting on the toilet like me. I'm only gonna get into the overstrikes. They call Oberhaus and Unterhaus, the overhand strike and the lower hand strike. So really, it's just your position, if you're doing over the right side or the left side or under. These are also called rising strikes. And I'll show you those again so you can see the full form later. So this is true for every martial art. You're always on the balls of your feet so you can move easy. Especially with this, you could get in and get out. And you're always protecting your center line, which is right here, right? No matter where my sword is, if you're moving, my center line is covered by my sword. Same thing here. You see it's covering this line right here. So if you strike me, you're not passing my sword right through me, you're hitting the sword first. So all of your guards, I mean, unless it's a high guard, but you can easily drop it. All of your, let's call them pointy guards, are a little crooked. They're not straight out. They're a little crooked. And have you seen that video of psychology about finding your center? It's the same concept. It's the same recurring motif. And this is true for all martial arts. If you're wrestling or striking, you always guard your center line because that all the vitals are here. Okay, yeah, so it took me about 3 months to really figure out how to strike correctly, especially with the footwork and all. So if I'm gonna show you the underhand strikes here, like I said, you throw the sword out and your body follows. So I'll exaggerate it first and then I'll show you how you're supposed to do it. So if I throw it out and then I come up. So that's the exaggerated version. The correct version is like this. And usually you want to sink. You want to come down because you get more power. It's just like striking, if you know anything about that. As you step, your strike lands with your step. It just produces more power because really the origin of all of this comes from your core and your hips because you're winding. it starts at your hips and your arms and legs just kind of follow it. If you want to get technical, you're throwing your hips and core to make the sword get thrown, to make your body, the rest of your body, follow, technically. So I'll talk a little bit more about footwork, because a wrestler usually has a kind of wide base here, and a striker would have a linear base here. So sword fighting's kind of in the middle of those two, because you're making an L, but it's a little out. Okay, I guess I can show you the opposite end. So the left side strikes. So if we're here, the exaggerated version is this, or the correct version is this. Same thing with the left. Exaggerated this. Correct this. And since you're throwing the sword around and you're cutting through, right, you're letting that momentum carry it over to the next strike. So you don't want to like throw it and then and then get ready and then throw it again. You kind of want to really wind through it. So like if we alternate sides, see my feet, whatever hip is forward, that's where the strike comes. See my left hip, right hip, left hip, right hip. And I think that's all we have time for today. So that's it. That was the basics of sword fighting. Interesting stuff. It's fun. It's fun. Martial arts is fun. You learn a lot about everything. You start seeing the recurring motifs and everything. Hey, look, my social media and stuff. Let me know what you want to see next time. If either a psychology video or a training video or a nutrition video. And then that way I can get better ideas of what people might want to see rather than what I just want to see. So, yeah, see you later.